The following program is a real estate and mortgage show and does not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of Reality Radio 101, its advertisers and sponsors, or its listening audience. Listener discretion is advised. Good evening and welcome to Your Home, Your Money with your hosts, Randy and Jackie Rodney, right here on Reality Radio 101. To get on board, send us an email. Our email address is yourhomeyourmoney101@gmail.com. And now, ladies and gentlemen, right to your hosts of Your Home, Your Money, Randy and Jackie Rodney.
Hello, y'all.
Hi. How is everybody out there in this nice, little wet evening? I don't know.
Little wet evening. Oh, it's just sprinkling. It's not even bad. Isn't that strange? We just got that noise just as we started air. I don't know. I have no idea what that is. Oh, maybe it's a system. Okay.
Oh, the air conditioning.
Yeah. Well, peoples, you know what's going on in the market. But did you know that the average price April this year over last year dropped 4.1%? That's a pretty heavy drop for a month. That's concerning, to be honest. We have sales are down 23%, which things have been kind of trending that way anyway. So we were pretty confident that the market was going to take a transactional hit, but the 4.1% on the average price is concerning. Even detached homes, they've hit a 5.4% decline in price, average price for year over year, April versus April pricing. Semi-detached took a 4.1% hit. Townhouses 3.9, and condo apartments with the biggest hit at 6.8%, which is not really a lot of fun for sellers, but it's kind of good for buyers, right? So that seller that wanted to sell last year at $1 million, but said they would hold off till this year because they were hoping the market would do better. Well, they lost 4,100, so their place is only worth 996,000. So they kind of lost that. Right? Actually, no. At 4%, that's not 4,000. That's not 4,000. That's 40,000. So they're at $960,000 is their price. So this is a really good lesson for the many buyers out there that are carrying really huge mortgages, running some arrears, running up credit cards, and doing all those kind of things to try to stay afloat. Because you're waiting for the better time. The better time is probably now for you. Predictions are, next year we should probably have another very soft year where we're probably having declined prices over this year. And then the following year, hopefully we will start to come out of it because, there's some pretty strong resiliency that we're seeing in the marketplace. I don't understand it, but we're just seeing it. We thought with the amount of inventory that we had, that prices could not sustain. It's not possible. When we're having, last month it was 88.8% The inventory numbers were higher than the previous year in the month of March. And this year, we're looking at 54% higher in inventory. We're looking at, you really have to couple the active inventory along with the sales to really get that good picture. Because when you're up 54% in inventory, but you're down 23% in sales, that is not necessarily a good sign for your business. That's where the real estate market is now. And we are hearing all over a lot of people saying that this is one of the greatest markets to buy in. Not quite sure how they come to that conclusion, but a lot of it has to do with, if you look historically, the interest rates, as much as we feel that they're high for our prices and the salaries that we have, historically they're very low. Our problem is when you add that it's historically very low interest rate to our historically very high price, that's where we have, most Canadians are having issue with it. But prices are kind of holding. They are down. In certain areas, you're having a lot of trouble trying to sell your home, and one of the reasons being is when we have 27,000 homes available for sale and only 5,000 and change sell. That means 4 out of 5 homes are not selling, and that is an issue. And so when you combine all that and you start to look at some of the other indicators like the sales to new listing ratio trend, and that's at 36%, clearly displaying that the buyers have more negotiation strength than the sellers do. And then you see months of inventory starting to climb up. We used to be under a month, around a month. We're now at 4.1 months, which just means as if no more inventory came to the market within 4.1 months, and sales remained the same. Within 4.1 months, we'd be out of inventory. So you look at all these things, and then you look at the average days on market, it climbed over a month, and you say that this is a great market for buyers and a not so great market for the sellers who are looking to get the peak market prices. If you're a seller and you're looking to get what the market is worth today, you will find that it won't be as hard to navigate the market because many sellers are listed at a price that will cause their home not to sell, because they have this saying that they say, oh, well, you'll never know. You never know. We can price it at that and you'll never know. And that may be true in some marketplaces. For example, in 2020, 2021, in those times, everything sold. So if you priced it high, all you had to do was wait for the market to catch up to you. But if you price it at the right price, people would have bid it up high anyways. So, back then was sort of like one philosophy that you could use, and the market would clean up all the mistakes that you made. But now, you got to know the market. You've got to know the market. In your marketplace, there may be as many as 12 competitors. Some a little bigger, some the same size, some a little smaller. They're all competitors, because when buyers are looking, they're usually looking in a range. And so how does your home compare with all the other properties? And that's one of the things that we are working feverishly on, is to really be able to do that study and find out, which homes are going to be the ones that are going to sell, and in what order and when, based on the market trends. And it isn't that, well, you never know. It actually works out that, well, you pretty much know, because the buyers are looking for deals, and the people who are asking too much money and their home is now priced, if 2,500 square foot home is priced, $50,000, $100,000 higher, and they're priced with the 3,000 square foot homes. So if somebody wants to pay more money for a smaller home, then your home has a chance. But most people aren't looking to do that. Most people are looking to get the deal, and yours is not a deal. It's actually kind of expensive. So, and that will make up the 4 out of the 5 that don't sell. But the people who actually do want to sell, if they get in and they price it at market, they'll move their home eventually, because 1 out of the 5 will sell. And if you're positioned yourself in that situation, you will move. Yeah. So what's going on with emails, babes?
Okay, so let's see. We got from Ray, Happy Mother's Day to Jackie Rodney. Thank you, Ray.
Thank you, Ray.
And we got Mike. Hey, where's Jackie and Randy broadcasting from? At the beginning, it sounds like they were on Mars.
Oh, that was the air conditioner, I believe, turned
Oh,
on, and it was
yeah.
quite loud.
I think the building finally turned the air on.
Yeah, I turned it
Yeah.
off, so everything should be good now.
Oh, okay, yeah. It was a little loud. And we have a little bit going on in the office tonight. Every Tuesday we have a group from Legal Shield, which I'm going to give them a little shout out now, actually. Legal Shield is let's see, the best way I can sum it up is a way to have a lawyer in your pocket 24/7, very inexpensively. This is something that you can do a yearly membership, you can pay monthly. It's not, I'll be honest with you, it's not huge money, but anytime you have any kind of problem with anything, contract, you get pulled over, your kids are away and the police pull them over, you got a lawyer. You just dial the number and there's somebody right there on the line with you 24/7, which is kind of amazing. I've heard a few stories where it's really benefit some people's kids when they've been, like, say in the US and got pulled over for whatever. They just, got a lawyer on the phone right away. They knew what to do, how to navigate the situation. They have meetings here every Tuesday. I believe they start at 5:30, right, Randy? 5:30 here in the office in the boardroom, and people can come in and just hear what it's all about and see if it's something that might interest or help your family. We're part of it. We were part of it for a few years as well. I don't know how much I'm going to use it, but I think it's very beneficial. At least I have it in my back pocket. So, yeah. So we have a little bit of noise going on tonight. So if anybody hears anything outside of us, sorry.
And there's a podcast going on as
Oh,
well
and
back
there's a
there, so-
podcast going on. Okay.
Yeah, pretty cool. I'm
So-
looking over the MLS home price index, and it is basically down in every single department. Apartments prices are all down,
Condos?
so what they call them apartments, which are and then the townhouses is all down in all the categories. Single,
Sales and
family.
price, or?
Well, they're looking at price, year-over-year change, and what's special about them is that they pick a particular product that is popular in that area. For example, if they were to pick our area, they would pick a 4-bedroom detached home. Probably they would pick one of the 50 by 100 lots, because there's a lot more of them than the 50 by 150 lots. And they would pick that as the, a 2,000 square foot or 2,400 square foot, probably they're doing our area. And then that becomes the standard home that they're checking each month. Whereas on the Toronto Real Estate Board, when we're talking about average prices, they're adding everything together, apartments, townhouses, and everything, and they're putting it all together and again an average price. But when it comes to the home price index and they talk about apartments, well, they're going to pick if it in that neighborhood, the 2 bedrooms are the most popular ones at 400 square feet. 700 square feet. Those are most popular ones. That's what they're going to pick as what they judge all the time. And and the thing is that what we get is we get a little bit more of a clearer picture of what's really happening with price. But when we're looking at this and we're looking at it across apartments, townhouses, single family attached homes, single family detached home, and the composite benchmark, which is just basically all of them sort of combined, in every single category here, we're negative. And we're negative, and they take that information and they do it in Halton Region, Burlington, Halton Hills, Milton, or Oakville, and then they do Peel Region, which is Brampton, Caledon, and Mississauga, and then they do Toronto and York Region and Durham Region, of course, is Ajax, Brock, Oshawa, Pickering, Scugog, Uxbridge, Whitby. So they're taking all of these communities or cities and evaluating them all, and they're all down, which tells us a clear picture that the market is on a downward trend. And guess who's being hit like the hardest? The places that have the most money. So like if we could look at Oakville here, their Oakville composite benchmark is down 10.5%. Whereas if we were to go to Whitby, it's only down 3.8%. And you go into Oshawa, it's down 5.7%. But if you go up to Uxbridge, it's actually almost a 1% up. So isn't that interesting? It's 0.9. Not a lot of inventory there. Houses are spread apart more, but a very desirable area. But everyone else is running all these huge negatives, and it looks like the richer the neighborhood, the harder hit they have been. And that's actually quite interesting. That's just the way the market is. So realistically for us, I mean, we specialize in helping sellers to master their navigate the marketplace and to be able to set themselves up so that they can try to get the top dollar in the shortest period of time with the least amount of hassle. And that's where we sort of pride ourselves on it. But lately we've been doing a lot of work with buyers and helping them to navigate the marketplace and be able to get great deals. And I guess we won't necessarily talk about the pricing on the great deal, but I mean, some of the deals that our buyers are getting are just incredible. Sellers are typically getting lowball offers, and then when the seller says, "No, I'm not interested in negotiating a deal like that," buyers have moved on to the next property. Like they don't really care. They're just going and throwing in lowball offers, and what they'll do is they'll go out there. So let's say there's 12 homes available in the neighborhood. Go see the 12, and maybe 5 of them they like. And so then what they'll do is put them in order. I'd rather buy this one first. Let's try to get 50,000, 70,000 off of that one. Nope, didn't work. Or the next one. It's not like I'm going to negotiate further with this one. I'm going to go to the next one.
And there's definitely a lot of lowballing out there.
There's a lot of lowball.
Even when you feel like it's already lowball.
And
when you lower the price to hold back offers and somebody's lowballing your lower price.
That is a lowball price.
I mean, it is what it is, but I kind of, sorry it's so loud, I kind of think like, dude, I know sometimes you have to do, you got to do what your client wants, but sometimes it's like these agents, it's not their clients, because they are pushing and pushing, and I'm like, dude, The house is worth more than the list price, and you're giving me like 100 grand under list price.
Yeah, but you're doing the same.
Yeah, but I'm getting
Well,
them.
Yeah, but the point is you're doing the same. So dude is doing what he needs to do.
I know. Yeah, I'm
and-
just saying though, there is a lot of lowballing out there. So if you got your house on the market, don't be discouraged by that. I've seen stuff sit,
And
talk
that's-
to agents, never got an offer, and then all of a sudden it sells, and it sold for more than it was listed for. So
With 2 offers.
don't be discouraged. You know, there's always the ones out there that are going to lowball, and that's just the way it is.
You have to understand the market, and then you're fine.
Should I do some more
Go
emails?
ahead.
Okay. Ooh. This is Kim, and she says, forget real estate. Let's talk about the pathetic Maple Leafs. What?
Pathetic.
Come
Kim,
on, Kim.
What?
They've come a
Kim.
long way. They've lost the last 2 games, but I mean, they're out of their
What?
element.
Yeah.
I think they've been doing amazing.
Kim, I am so sorry. Okay.
I think she's trying to start something, Kim.
Yeah, and you did start something.
Are
Kim,
you kidding? You trying to start
The
something?
Leafs, remember this, the Leafs are playing last year's Stanley Cup winners. Okay? That's who they're playing right now. And they're doing great. They're in there. It's 2-2. They're not being wiped out. They won the first 2. The third game was a fluke goal, just popped up in the air and went in. Like, come on, for the overtime. So, I mean, that could have went either way. And the next game, they're playing a very, very, very good, one of the best teams in the league. So I'm not saying they're doomed pathetic. I think they're going to take the Stanley Cup this year, but this is
Woo.
going to be a big, big
Right
fight
now, I'm
right
just
now.
hoping that they're going to get
Yeah, I hope
past
they
this.
take this next game. That would be
Oh,
nice.
if they
'cause
don't, I can't watch it after that.
It's going to be
I
tough.
get too excited.
It's going to be tough because, I can see it going 3-3 and then the winner takes it at the end. So I think it's going to be pretty exciting. The good news is in the next 3 games, 2 of them are here. So yeah, it would be nice if it was all over with, but Kim, that's a lot to expect, and that would be really, really strange that you are the #1 team in the world last year, and now you
Can't
can't
beat
even
the
win
Maple
a
Leafs.
game? Like, no. So we're doing fantastic,
Oh
but
my
yes, it would be nice if it was 4-0.
Yes. Yeah. But there's a game tomorrow night, so everybody will be on the tip of their couch.
Yeah.
And so Rhonda says, hey again to the Rodneys. The market is sad. Get into tariff research. Show us how Carney will F us all with his stupid ass decisions. Rhonda wants some tariff news.
Yeah, so I don't really know what to say about tariff news, but I really think that, there's a couple of things here. I'll just give you how I feel about this whole thing. So Donald Trump is not a politician. He doesn't speak like a politician, and he doesn't care to speak like a politician. He is a businessman. He got voted in the States to do the work that he's supposed to do, and he's got interesting language. Now, what I mean by interesting language, he could have positioned this whole thing so differently. His language is, all the countries are ripping us off, and Canada become the 51st state and all this stuff. And all he's doing is pissing everybody off, especially here in Canada with that. And he's pissing off other people in the other parts of the world. But if you can actually get over all of that and let all that stuff go, because it's irrelevant. Honestly, yeah, it would be nice if he spoke differently. It would be nice if he came out and he had Bill Clinton's ability to speak, or Obama's. I definitely wouldn't say the last President Biden, not that kind of speaking. But if he had that and he'd come out and he'd say, hey, listen, you know what? We have a problem with how the U.S. trades is positioned with most of the world, and we feel that it's not fair because originally this all started with free trade. And what we were looking for was to open up the global channels and everybody have a fair, free trade opportunity to serve the world. Instead, what we've got is we've got all these tariffs, direct tariffs and indirect tariffs there to protect your country and to stop other countries from being able to come in while you're, going and getting other markets. And it's just unfair. So what we've decided to do is to make the situation fair for everyone. So what we're going to do to make it fair, we're going to assess each country and exactly how they treat us, that's exactly the tariffs we're going to apply to them. And hopefully in doing this exercise, everybody will realize what they're doing to us. And then we can talk fair trade and maybe even get to the point of free trade. He didn't do any of that, so that's fine. Because I think people could have resonated with that a little bit more. People who do not live in America, for us outsiders. But for people who live in America, more than half of them, they see through, okay, we don't need all this smooth talking rhetoric. I think they're quite upset with their government as a whole because, you have Doge, which went and found a whole bunch of money that's being misappropriated. And you have the other side just fighting to try to keep the money misappropriated. And that would be very confusing. And I think a lot of people are very confused by that. And then you're seeing the other side, they're saying, okay, well, you know what, you let in a whole bunch of criminals and all these people. Yes, you let in a bunch of good people, but at what cost? Look at all these criminals that we have all over the place that you just let walk in and do all that stuff. And then never mind the terrorist parts that you've let in, that those are sleeper cells and they're coming on thing, but you've just allowed that all to happen. And so the new government's trying to clean it up and you are against it. And so you're against it, and the thing is, most of the stuff that he's cleaned up are people who have actually got a criminal record, and you're against that. And I think that your country, as much as you may love the Democrats, that's a very confusing time. And so you have these, and it would be confusing for anyone. And I think that's probably one of the big reasons why I've sort of moved right, or maybe I didn't move right. Like the left shifted so much that I seem like I'm right. And so then you watch the party and JFK is now, a lefty is now right. The savior of the left's party, which was Elon Musk, who was bringing the electrical cars that they absolutely loved, when he was listening to their platform, and he voted for Joe Biden, and he was a savior in the party, but because he switched over, because he liked what Trump was saying better, now he's the Antichrist, he's a Hitler, he's just everything bad, and let's burn down his stuff and all that stuff. And I'm thinking, this is really, really strange behavior. And it's being supported by government. And I don't mean that the government's saying go out and blow it, but they're not saying, hey, don't do this. The left is not talking about not doing it. As a matter of fact, they're trying to support the people who have done it and try so they don't get into a lot of trouble and things like that. And if you remember when all of the other riots were happening back in the day, even the media was like, I remember this one skit where the guy was saying, he was standing and there was a building, I think it was the police station, was on fire behind him. And he's sitting there saying, well, most of the protesters are peaceful. And it was like, dude, are you serious? How biased can you be? So the Americans are dealing, I think, with a very weird scenario where you now know you cannot trust your government at all. And it doesn't matter if it's Trump or what Biden did. But from what's being uncovered now, from what you're seeing, from the way in which the Democrats are acting by supporting criminals, by supporting not supporting trying to stop the fraud and waste and that within the government, and carrying on that the way they're carrying on, you realize that it has nothing to do with their love for the country. And it has everything to do with power. And why you would come to that conclusion is because when Donald Trump does something good, they should actually support that. Not try to stop it, because you should say, hey, this is good for our country, so you keep doing that. But these things that we don't like over here, but the Democrats just don't like anything. It doesn't matter whether it's something that they actually believe that should be done. It doesn't matter. They don't like it, and that is where you say, hey, then it's not about the country. It's about the power. And that is, I think, confusing to a nation as well. And it's hard, and especially if your heart, you've loved being a Democrat, you've got to stand up and you've got to face this. And at some point, for me, it would be too embarrassing to stay and support them. It would hurt to leave. And I think I went through quite a few changes in that, and I can't see myself going back, not for a while. It's too much lunacy there. So now going back directly with what Trump's doing with the tariffs, it is not good how it's affecting us here in Canada, okay? It's not good. It's not good the way in which he's talking about Canada, okay? Okay. But he's not representing Canada. He's representing America. And what he's doing for America is absolutely amazing. And a lot of people say, oh, no, it's bad because now you'll never have the same relationship. Who wants that relationship? If I was him, I wouldn't want that relationship. What relationship are you talking about? We protect your border. If it's Americans, we protect Canada because we're such a powerhouse. You barely don't pay the fees you're supposed to pay to NATO. And so what kind of relationship are you talking about there? Our border, even though it's not as porous as the Mexican border was, we let over more terrorists than the Mexican border did. I think at a 3-to-1 ratio. And a lot of people didn't really know that. And so this is another thing. He said, no, this has got to stop. And you're tariffing, Canada is tariffing America at a rate that is much higher than what America is doing to Canada. And they're trying to even that out. So when Canada says, oh, well, we're not friends, it's like, well, no, we're friends, but right now you're taking advantage of us, or this trade situation that we've closely looked like is not favorable for both parties. It's only favorable for you, Canada, and I want that changed. And so, in his situation, he's going out, and it really, if you sit back and you look, and I had this discussion with another gentleman saying, nope, he's ruining America, he's going to destroy it, and he went off and he told me all about how all of the entrepreneurs and small business people that were doing trade using the Chinese goods to sell because they were cheaper and all this stuff, those people will all be out of business. And I said to him, I go, yeah, but how fair is that? How fair is it that you go and you build a company? Let's call it Gucci. You build a company called Gucci, and you've built a great brand and everything, and people like your brand, and they're buying it in America, and China goes and rips off your label and everything like that, and floods the streets with $10 T-shirts all over the world. Like profiting off of all of the work that you did to build that name. And that's just wrong. So that has to stop. Something has to give. And so he says, yeah, but what's going to happen? The way he did it is wrong. And I can't say that the way he did it is right or wrong. I can't say that. I don't really know because it's pretty damn extreme. And I don't think we have a playbook that tells us the last time it was done like this, how it turned out. So we don't really know. But we do know this. We do know that when he comes out of it and realigns all of the tariff imports and export trading platform, he will be so much further ahead. America will be so much further ahead than they ever were. We know that because we see everybody's trying to do trade with him. Well, if he comes out like this, why would we want to do trade with him? Because he's got the biggest store in the world and everybody wants to sell goods in his store. So he smartened up and he said, hey, listen, you want to sell goods in my store? Stop doing this and this and this and this and this. Now everybody wants to sell goods in the store. And once he cleans that up, America wins. And that is just it. Unfortunately, Canada, for what's happening with us is at first we were just very mad. And I don't know if you guys saw the change with Doug Ford, and then we had Doug Ford coming in there like our Domi, our old Domi. He's coming with the gloves on and he's ready to turn off the electricity to Trump Tower. You know, I actually found that kind of exciting. And he was willing to do that and everything. But as he started going through the process, he started realizing that, hold on, there's something right about what Trump's saying. We've got all kinds of tariffs on us from Saskatchewan, from Alberta, from different places. Within our own country, we are tariffing each other. Like absolutely insane. And then that's where he started saying, hey, listen, we got to stop this. This is insane. And so we started to learn something about even ourselves in this situation. And then finally, am I talking too long here, huh?
I don't think I need to come to the show.
Okay, I'll stop here. It's just
No, keep going, but I really don't need to come.
Okay, and then, but
Because you told me to do the emails, I got out 2, and then you just started.
Well, you go back and listen as you told me to answer this. But anyway,
Yeah.
So, but not
Half
all
an
this.
hour later,
Is it half an hour later? What time?
I
is it?
could be home doing laundry. I'm just sitting here.
All right, I'll stop. Go ahead. Do the next one.
But there's a lot of them, that's why.
Okay.
Mike says, Jackie, do you know about this? Brampton man facing fraud charge, 2 lawsuits as illegit real estate deposit scam collapses. Did you hear about that?
I didn't.
I read about it last week, but then I forgot about it. So then when I read the email, I brought it back up. And yeah, this guy claimed that he was, he claims he never told anybody that he was a broker, a mortgage broker, or a pre-construction guy. But anyways, he sold people lots, has homes, and took their deposits, and he spent them, basically, to the tune of like almost $200,000. So now these people are out their deposits, they're suing him. Good luck getting any money back. I hate to say that, but typically we never see that. That's long gone. His pictures here of him sitting on the back of a Lamborghini. Then he's got pictures sitting on a G-Wagon. And he's, but he says, I never defrauded anybody. I never told anyone that I was blah, blah, blah. So it's kind of odd. It's really odd. This is him here. He's a private lender, developer, and pre-construction. But he's a private lender, but yet he took their money and I guess he lent their money and spent it. I don't know. But yeah, so I don't know. How do you stay away from this? How do you know who to believe and who not to believe? And you go further in and it says even this here, this is a legitimate company that has built homes in the GTA. This is not the other, this is something else I'm talking about. Paradise Developments, Inc., But then somebody decided that they were going to open Paradise Development Homes Limited and kind of did the same kind of scam, and everybody thought, oh, we know this builder, but it wasn't the same builder, but they were posing as them, kind of, sort of. So I don't know. There's so much fraud out there. I don't know how you stay away from it. I don't know. I guess, like, where did you meet him? Did you go into an office? How did, you know, I don't know. But yeah, there's also another article that I read about, and I don't know if anybody, and this is just telling you just how hard it is as a landlord to sometimes fight with the landlord and tenant board. So this was in Brampton. Was it Brampton? No, sorry, no, not Brampton. I am so sorry. Where is it? Oh, it's on my phone. I'm sorry, guys. This here is Thunder Bay. So this lady in a subsidized living apartment building, whatever, her friend let in a friend into her unit. She was there. She decided to leave the friend and this person in her apartment and go see someone in another apartment. And I guess while she was gone, they left, but he decided he wasn't going to leave the building. And he snuck back in, and he went into the courtyard, and he set fire on the gas meter. So they're trying to say she's responsible because you're responsible for who you allow in the building. That was your guest, and you're responsible for what your guest visitors do, right? So was it, well, they were trying to evict her, which didn't happen. They made her pay $183 for the court filings, and now she's under all these restrictions for the next year, which good luck. I don't know who's going to be watching her, you know, or whatever. But anyways, it's, and you know, I mean, I don't know how possible that is to actually terminate someone's lease because of what somebody else did, but I guess they're saying you let them in, you're responsible.
Sounds like a long shot.
Well, it didn't work.
Yeah.
She's on, like, I guess, a probationary, whatever, for the next year of who she lets in the building and if anything happens, that sort of thing. So that was another one, too. So, yeah. Gloria says, hello, Jackie and Randy. So the average price in the GTA for a house is still about 1.1 million, question mark. I just went to the real estate board's website, and that is what it stated. WTF.
Yeah, so I'm not sure exactly what you were looking at. So in the 416 area, the average price, yeah, it was 1.7. In the 905 area, the average price is 1.3, and overall is 1.4 for a detached house. Now, maybe what she was looking at would have been overall average price. Overall average price of all the homes combined, which would be detached, semis, towns, and apartments, that would be 1.107. So I think that might be what you're referring to. However, that's sort of like the average price of a mix of, you know, condos and semis and detaches. So that's not really pointing out to a particular property. But if you're looking for a house, you're actually, unfortunately, on average about 1.4, depending on where you're going to be.
Detached.
1.7 if you want to be in the city. But I will tell you that last week, my wife got a buyer, a detached home at
I got
almost
another one
half
this
that
week.
price.
We
Okay,
just
go
did
ahead.
another one this week, too. So two
Yeah,
now.
at almost half of what the average
With a
price.
garage, with a detached
With a
garage.
detached garage. So it's a combination of a good find, a lot of work, and then great negotiations, and then you know.
There are some deals out there.
And deals can be had. We're not saying they're easy to get, but they're out there for the willing, and that's why some people are saying this is a really, really good time for buyers. And it's a good time for buyers to buy homes. And one of the philosophies being is that you never really know. Like, I mean, the ideal time to buy is at the very bottom of the market, but you know, whoever nails that. So you want to buy in and around the bottom of the market, and so that's why they're saying now is a good time.
Okay, so this one is last on the list. Tina says, "Hey Rodney's, I did some research reading the Wall Street Journal and associated articles. They listed the top 10 best investments in the world right now. Real estate was number 10, last on the list. Yeah, it's not for the weak at heart right now, I guess.
Yeah. So
And-
who did that? Who did the survey? Did it say?
She said Wall Street Journal and associated articles. And Patty says, bless Trump. I'm not sure if that's supposed to be sarcastic, or I'm not sure. We never know with Trump. Donna says, good explanation, Randy, on Trump. He is crass, but he is right. That's what I say. You know what? You don't have to like him, but it's like you don't have to like him, but you do have to look at what he's doing. And you do have to look
know
at
what?
that fairly. The same as Musk. Musk was what? Oh, wow, he was the best thing since sliced bread, coming
For
up with
the
all
left.
these things for everything, right? Then all of a sudden he decided he didn't like what the left was doing and he was going to go Republican. Now he's the worst man on earth. They're out there saying burn the cars. Like, why are you burning people's cars? That has nothing to do with Musk. Like, if I had a Tesla and you burned down my Tesla, how's that hurt? Like, the man has so much money, it's not going to matter.
I don't even think it has to do with money. I don't know how you could ever support a movement like that. It's just
know.
so
Yeah,
sad.
it's ridiculous.
It is just so sad. And then you wonder why Trump got the popular vote. Look at what you're doing.
Because some
man.
people are actually seeing it.
Look at what you're doing.
Just like here, who the hell out there voted the Liberals back?
Well, that
Darn.
I can see is a little bit different.
I don't know, Randy.
Because
It's like the
everybody-
definition of insanity. Do the same thing over and you expect a different result. Come on.
I hear you, but he's a different leader than Trudeau,
We'll see,
and
we'll see.
that's what the appetite was.
I
And
know,
I'm
but we'll
going
see.
I'm going to be honest. I listen to both platforms, and when it comes to real estate, neither platform was going to do anything really. Polyev had a chance because he had an incentive-based thing that he was going to try to. Get the municipalities to buy into expanding the number of homes in that. Carney's way that he believes he's going to do it, it'll never happen. That's just writing a dream and telling people stuff, and you're going to build all these properties, and that's just never going to happen. There's a lot of reasons why it'll never happen, because we have 3 levels of government, and his level of government is not in charge of it. So that's one of the things. Whereas Polyev said, no, what we'll do is we'll try, in essence, to bribe the municipalities and give them money based on the success rate that they have within their municipality. So if they build 100,000 homes, he'll pay them all that extra money. But if they say they're going to build it and they don't, they're not going to get any money. So I thought, that has a chance to work. But being a federal government that seems to believe that you are going to go out and build a bunch of stuff, that's hogwash. And I think he knows it's hogwash, because he's no dummy. He's a very, very, very intelligent man. He is not Trudeau. Trudeau was charismatic. He won off of his father's name, and he did what he had to do, I guess, to have his life go on, but it didn't help ours. And I'm just hoping that Carney's not going to be the same kind of person, even though that sounds like a far stretch. He probably will be similar.
Okay, I'm going to go through these fast, and then you comment on whatever ones but let's get through them because we have a few. Karen, she says they are nuts. And the libs are against Musk finding all of the waste in the American taxpayers. How is that possible? Wouldn't they be glad? Karen,
That
it's
blows
really,
my mind,
really
Karen.
odd.
Blows my mind.
And then I'm assuming because it's ... so I'm sorry if it's not Alexander. Randy, watch the clips from Bill Maher, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you have not, there is such a
Stench.
That's what I thought. I'm like stench, left-wing, late-night talk show host, and he is now totally criticized the lift. It is unbelievable. Have you heard of that? Have you? I've heard of his name, Bill Maher.
He's huge. But the reason why she can't see Alexander is because it just says Alex and then 3 dots.
Yeah,
so
so
the Google has
not
it
sure.
expanded. Sorry
Yeah.
about the pronunciation.
Yeah. Shane, looking forward to Alberta seeding from Canada. Shane, are you in Alberta? Do you honestly think that's going to happen, Shane? No, it's not going to happen.
Seeding from Canada. Gary, do you know what?
Yeah, that means it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to join the U.S. They just want to be a separate province within Canada. But the latest polls of it today, the Premier of Canada said if she gets 600,000 votes plus, she would make the referendum. And it doesn't mean that they're going to go down to the states. They just don't want anything to do with the country. They want to be a separate country in themselves.
So we had
Wow.
Montreal
Wow.
do this before, but I'm going to say Alberta. I gotta say the little bit of information that I know on this one, I kind of side with them. It's so unfortunate when you have a country and then, for Albertans.
Oh, here, let me just read this quick because this is the same sort of thing.
Okay.
And then you finish what you're saying. Edward says, Edmonton CBC, we're Canadians, Albertans divided about separation and cross-province checkup, but are seriously considering it. Republican Party of Alberta leader says membership has doubled since the federal election. She would support the will of the people. Sorry.
So
go ahead.
I saw her on camera saying no, she's not
That's
going to
what
do
I
it.
thought,
That's
too.
what I saw. But I do understand. We had 10 years of Liberal government, and we're all poor because of it. At least from the middle class down is poor. Okay. And that's the way it is. And what we're doing is we're starting all over, and we're just hoping that we have a better run this time, and that there's going to be some opportunities, and everybody's going to be able to come out of this.
Let's hope.
But that's the optimistic people. The other people are
Because
just
he's
crying.
got a lot of work to do.
Other people are just crying, okay? Because it's tough out there. And I'll admit it, I speak to people every day, and it's a tough world. And I'm very proud of the people who recognize it's a tough world, and they're doing everything that they can do to strengthen it and strengthen their position within the world and within our world. And so for Alberta, I actually kind of understand. Like, they have some great assets underneath their feet, but our Liberal government seems to believe it's better to have dandelions than to use these things. And because of that, like, how long can you sit back and work with this kind of illogic? Like, I understand that they have all these principles and all these things that are guiding them, and then they're holier than everybody else. But I'll tell you, sincerely speaking, if we had someone, let's say, that was a little bit more of a businessman and a little bit less of a talker, he would probably say, hey, listen, we're going to take all of those rich minerals and we're gonna start to sell them, and we're going to become wealthy, and then therefore we won't even have to tax the taxpayers. And if we could get a movement like that, that would be awesome, as opposed to the people we have, let's do carbon tax so that we can save the world. And then what we'll do is we'll take our factories that have pretty good emission standards, we'll carbon tax them to death so that they have to close down, and then move to Mexico or China, where they're putting up with poor standards of factories. And guess what? They're making the same goods that we need. It's just that we've lost the jobs, and we've lost the clean air that we were making them in. We're making them now in dirty air factories, and we're not done. we actually talk about how great we are with, not wanting to have slave labor and all this stuff. So we have a $17 minimum wage, but we're allowing for the whole slave labor in the other country, and we'll still buy the goods from them. And when we buy the goods from them, that we don't want the slave labor, we don't want the dirty carbon emissions and all that stuff, but we forced it over to there, done it, and then we buy it back, enforcing, saying, hey, congratulations, you guys did good, we're gonna buy from you. And we spend more carbon emissions again, bringing them back from air and from water. And we actually believe that we're doing something, and we're doing something good. And then it's just kind of really hard to understand, and that's the problem, with someone like myself. I'm just not intelligent enough to understand their master plan. It makes no sense to me.
Is anybody?
And it makes no sense to me, and as a matter of fact, I don't actually believe it makes sense to them. And I don't think it has to make sense to them. And I'll tell you, this is where I sort of ended my grappling with why they would do stuff like this. They hop in a private jet, all fly off to some secluded island, all of them in private jets. If they cared at all about any of the stuff they were talking about, the emissions that they're spending to go and do it, as opposed to having a Zoom call.
Oh my gosh, but people have talked about that forever, and they've done nothing.
But it's
it
just
hasn't
the point.
changed anything. I know, but it hasn't changed them.
It doesn't need to change anything. It just tells us straight up that they don't care at all. Because and then they go there, and then they have this meeting, and they come out of the meeting and they say, okay, people, we're gonna have to get rid of hamburgers because of the amount of emissions that it causes.
The cows.
It just, like, you just can't, it's not even worth trying to understand where they're coming from, because the policies that they came up with in order to save the world are actually backwards, causing more emission, causing more child labor, and then flying them in, the products back in, and supporting it. It makes no sense to me. And so I don't believe that they care about those things. There's something else going on. Otherwise, they would see it, right? I don't know.
Well, anybody else out there suffering from allergies? I'm sure if you watch YouTube, you're going to see me rubbing my nose constantly, which is kind of weird. Allergy season. Pollen is huge. My backyard is covered.
Another vision that I had was
You didn't even listen to what I said. He's just like
did.
I said nothing. He's like, well, here's another.
pollen, whatever. Okay, I don't have
You
that
sound
problem,
a little
so-
lethargic.
Yeah, well, I think it's my blood sugars. They're out of whack. They're
Yeah?
out of whack, so it's slowing me down. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you seem a little sluggish.
It's a little sluggish.
We were up late. We were up in Muskoka, so we
What
were
time does
late.
that say?
We got 3 minutes, buddy, so
Oh,
don't
so
start
9:27,
anything.
9:28 is when the show's over. So the show is
Pretty much
show is
done. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna sign us out. This is your home, our money. Oh no, this is your home and your money and our lives.
Yeah, we don't have any money. We're broke realtors, remember?
On realityradio101.com. Bye for now.
Ciao.
Thank you for listening to Your Home, Your Money with your hosts, Randy and Jackie Rodney, right here on Reality Radio 101.